We listened to your votes on social media, and we have delivered. In this video, we are counting down the top 10 tornadoes of 2017. There were several factors that went into deciding how to rank these, from how photogenic the tornado was to how much damage they had left behind, as well as how many votes they received on our social media pages. We are going to kick off our top 10 list with the Elk City, Oklahoma tornado. On May 16th, a tornado touched down at 6:46 Central Time, about 3 miles to the west-northwest of Carter, Oklahoma. As the twister moved northeastward, it damaged trees, homes, residences, and brought down power lines. It then moved across subdivisions on the south side of Elk City before dissipating. The National Weather Service in Norman, Oklahoma, rated this tornado an EF2 with estimated maximum wind speeds of 125 to 135 miles per hour.
Number 9. New Orleans, Louisiana. This EF3 tornado wreaked havoc on eastern New Orleans on February 7th, severely damaging 638 homes and several businesses. The tornado touched down in the eastern portion of New Orleans and moved northeast and quickly strengthened as it continued eastward. The twister caused mostly EF2 damage with a few small patches of lower-end EF3 damage. The tornado had a damaged path length of 10.1 miles with a maximum width of 600 yards.
Number 8 on our list comes from Denton, Texas. On Friday, April 14th, thunderstorms developed across the southern portion of the panhandle of Texas. A long-lived supercell produced numerous brief tornadoes to the southwest of Denton. At around 6:30 p.m., a larger tornado touched down and began moving in a northward direction while skirting past the west side of Denton. The National Weather Service in Lubbock, Texas, ruled this as an EF3 with estimated peak winds of 140 miles per hour. The Denton tornado traveled for 6.94 miles and had a maximum width of just over 1 mile. Number 7. Albany, Georgia. A line of storms pushed its way through southern Georgia in the late afternoon on January 22nd. A tornado touched down just to the southwest of Albany. Moving northeast, it struck the southeast side of town, bringing damage that justified an EF3 rating. It continued moving northeast, snapping trees and destroying houses along the way. After a journey that lasted for over an hour, it dissipated just to the southwest of Abbeville, Georgia. Number 6. Canton, Texas. 3 tornadoes had an impact on Canton, Texas and surrounding areas during the evening of April 29th. The first twister was a weak EF0 that formed east of town, causing mainly tree and barn damage. A second and the most destructive tornado pushed from the Eustis area to West Canton. Over 50 homes were either damaged or destroyed, some wiped clean to the slab. This tornado was given an EF4 rating, the highest in Van Zandt County since records began in 1950. A third tornado formed just to the south of Canton. It grew quickly to roughly a mile wide. Continuous damage was found between Canton and the Fruitville area. The tornado was rated EF3 with estimated peak winds of 145 miles per hour. Number 5. Chautauqua, Wisconsin. It was a long-track tornado that tore through northwestern Wisconsin on May 16th. The tornado was on the ground for 83 miles. For the duration of its lifetime, the twister produced EF1 damage, but when it passed to the north of Chautauqua, it brought high-end EF2 damage. It continued along for another 30 miles before the twister hit the city of Conrath. A family home was completely collapsed down to the foundation, warranting an EF3 rating. This tornado was one of the longest track tornadoes in the state of Wisconsin since records began in 1950.
Number 4. Washburn, Illinois. On February 28th, there were 16 tornadoes that reported across the state of Illinois, with one being the Washburn tornado. It started out in an open field to the west of Washburn, then tracked to the north of the city, bringing EF3 damage. It continued for another 15 miles northeastward, dealing damage to anything that stood in its path.
Number 3. Carpenter, Wyoming. This tornado was part of one of the most significant severe weather outbreaks to impact southeastern Wyoming and the western Nebraska Panhandle in the past 30 years. Storm chaser Matt Majera drove all the way from Illinois to chase this tornado.
The talk of the day between a lot of people was to go either north or south, because we were sitting right in the middle, right in Cheyenne, where we could head in either direction if we needed to. But I was leaning towards the southern option just because I wasn't as confident in the northern option for a number of reasons. The storm started to fire up north, just barely. Started getting some returns on radar, and some people saw that, took the bait, and ran. After that, the storm that would eventually lead to the Carpenter tornado, it started to fire. We start driving south towards what would eventually become the Carpenter storm. And as we came up there, we got the first glimpses of the Carpenter tornado as it formed. It was this bright little white rope that just started touching down, and then it would fizzle and it would touch down again. Tears broke out in our car. We were absolutely ecstatic, but we had made it so far, and we had actually gotten a tornado. But little did we know exactly what we were going to be witnessing once we got up closer to the tornado. So we were heading due northbound as it really started to get stronger, and it was very evident based on it. It got this really stout, white stovepipe look to it. We sat there and watched the tornado as it was almost stationary as it roped out. It was the most amazing rope out I had ever seen in my entire life.
Number 2, Hattiesburg. This EF3 twister struck the city of Hattiesburg in the early morning hours on January 21st. During its 31.3-mile journey, it caused significant damage to homes and businesses. Aaron Rigsby experienced this twister firsthand.
The closer I got to Hattiesburg, the more concerned I grew because the couplet on radar was now getting a lot more intense. And there was a pretty obvious, what we call a CC drop, which is debris being thrown into the air and being picked up on radar. Very chilling, pulling into this town because they had just been hit hard by an EF4 in 2013. And this was at the worst possible time of day. It was at 3, 4 in the morning. Everyone was asleep. There was no tornado sirens going off when I got into Hattiesburg, even though they were under a tornado warning. So when I got to my intersection, I rolled down my window to see if I could see any power flashes, and all I heard was this loud, audible waterfall/airplane noise, followed by a bunch of power flashes illuminating a quarter-mile wide tornado. So I initially went to go turn around, and I accidentally turned down a service road, which dead-ended. And so at that point, it was too late to, really do anything. So I just parked my car, remained calm, started filming. I had 100-mile-an-hour winds from the inflow jet. It wasn't in the actual tornado itself. The tornado itself passed in front of me very, very closely. And once I could see that the winds were blowing at my back, I knew the tornado was moving away from me. So that was kind of reassuring and being situationally aware of what was going on around me.
Finally, the number 1 spot goes to the Perryville, Missouri tornado. On February 28th, the Storm Prediction Center highlighted an area of tornadic risk across the Midwest. In one of the afternoon updates, they upgraded their outlook and identified a narrow corridor of higher tornadic probabilities extending from southeastern Missouri through southern Illinois into southern Indiana. At 7:55 Central Time, a tornado touched down 4.8 miles to the northwest of Perryville. This twister quickly became a violent EF4 tornado, leveling homes as well as structures. It also snapped and uprooted several thousand trees during its 50-mile journey, and it lasted for just over an hour.
We want to thank Matt Majera and Aaron Rigsby for contributing their stories, as well as our followers on social media who voted on this top 10 list. Be sure to visit our website at www.tornadotalk.com to get hooked on more tornado history. If you haven't yet, be sure to also follow us on Twitter and Facebook.